Today I will tell you about the movie The Intouchables. Enjoy watching. Driss and Philippe are speeding through the night in Philippe's Maserati in Paris. He is tired of life in a wheelchair, tired of pity, and unable to be with the woman he loves. Philippe just wants to drive wherever his eyes take him. A police car appears behind them. Driss bets that he will outrun the police. Philippe accepts the bet, but after a few blocks, they are stopped. Driss makes a new bet. The police will escort them, and his friend agrees. When Driss was handcuffed, he claimed that he was taking Philippe to the hospital because he was having an attack and could die. Philippe played along, convincingly faking a seizure. The police, fearing he might actually die, escorted them to the hospital. Once they left, Driss and Philippe went on their way. These two didn't become close friends right away. They first met when Driss came to a job interview just to get a rejection note to claim unemployment benefits. Philippe, who was paralyzed from the neck down, was looking for a caregiver. He liked Driss's straightforwardness, while Driss, in turn, liked Philippe's assistant, the red-haired Magali. Philippe didn't sign Driss's unemployment form, promising to do it the next day if Driss returned. Driss left, taking a Faberge egg from Philippe's house. When he got home, a crowd of kids, his cousins, awaited him. One of them, Adama, got involved with the wrong crowd, and Driss was worried about him. When their mother returned, she immediately began lecturing Driss, who tried to gift her the stolen egg. She told him he was a lost cause and that she was tired of carrying an adult man on her back. She kicked him out, and Driss spent the night on the street with friends. The next morning, he went back to Philippe to get the job rejection form. Yvonne, another of Philippe's assistants, showed Driss around the house, his bedroom and bathroom, in case he accepted the job. She then took him to Philippe, who gave him the choice to take the signed form and leave or stay and try working. Philippe bet that Driss wouldn't last 2 weeks. Driss couldn't refuse such a challenge, but had no idea what kind of job awaited him. He would have to massage the paralyzed man's legs, wash him in the morning, dress him, feed him, sort his mail, and perform many other tasks. What bothered him most was the prospect of putting compression stockings on another man and using gloves for tasks whose purpose was yet unclear. Besides the servants, assistants, and Philippe, his adopted daughter, Elisa, also lived in the house. She was dating a scruffy guy named Bastien, who Driss instantly disliked. Philippe and his late wife had struggled to have children, and after 5 miscarriages, they decided to adopt Elisa. Then his wife died, and Philippe had a paragliding accident, becoming paralyzed. While sorting through the mail, Driss noticed a letter from a woman, but Philippe didn't want to talk about her. Yvonne, upon entering Driss's room, accidentally saw a folding knife and baton in his bag. She became worried for her boss's safety and couldn't trust a street guy, no matter how charming he seemed. Philippe planned to visit an art gallery and asked Driss to drive him in his specially equipped car for disabled people. Driss refused to drive it, spotting a Maserati in the yard covered with a tarp. Philippe said it was impractical, but Driss didn't listen, seating Philippe in the front, putting the wheelchair in the trunk, and hopping behind the wheel. A neighbor's car blocked the exit. Driss quickly taught the neighbor not to park there, using brute force instead of arguments. At the gallery, Philippe intended to buy a painting with an abstract design for almost 40,000 euros. Driss was outraged, questioning how someone could spend so much on such a mess, claiming he could paint something better. Philippe's relatives and friends warned him about Driss. Antoine even met with him specifically to discuss it, stating that Driss had a criminal record and was generally antisocial. But what mattered to Philippe was that Driss didn't pity him. He still handed him the phone whenever it rang, forgetting that Philippe couldn't answer it himself. Driss kept trying to flirt with Magali, but she rejected all his advances. He also constantly teased Elisa and learned from Yvonne that Philippe had been corresponding with a woman for 6 months without ever meeting her. Magali wrote the replies under Philippe's dictation. One night, Driss was awakened by Philippe's groans. He was experiencing phantom pains. Driss tried to comfort him, but the pain persisted. So, he took Philippe for a drive and offered him some marijuana. Philippe felt better. In a cafe, they talked, and Philippe asked Driss to return the Faberge egg he had stolen when they first met. It was a gift from his late wife. When Philippe was writing yet another letter to Eleanor, Driss intervened, insisting that Philippe should call her since she had sent her phone number. Though Philippe was against it, Driss called her anyway and handed Philippe the phone. Philippe had no choice but to talk. After that, they forgot about writing letters. and Philippe and Eleanor started talking on the phone more frequently. Despite the hardships of the job, Driss still found ways to have fun with Philippe, though they viewed entertainment differently. Philippe saw something profound in opera, while Driss only noticed a singing tree, and in German at that. Philippe decided to send Eleanor a photo. Together with Driss, they picked a picture where he was in his wheelchair, but it wasn't obvious that he was paralyzed. However, Philippe later swapped it for another photo taken before his accident. As it turned out, Driss wasn't just talking. He actually started painting a picture, determined to outdo the one his boss had bought. However, his artistic mood was spoiled by Elisa. Driss didn't tolerate her disrespectful attitude toward him and asked Philippe for permission to discipline her. After confirming that Elisa had indeed crossed the line, Philippe promised to talk to her himself. Driss finished his painting and decided to get feedback from the household members about his work. Almost everyone appreciated it, but it wasn't just Driss's hobbies that changed. Philippe also began to live differently. With the help of Driss's connections, they modified Philippe's wheelchair so it could go up to 12 kilometers per hour. They also called some women for an erotic massage. Philippe's only remaining erogenous zone was his ears, so his masseuse focused on those. Philippe's birthday arrived. His relatives and friends came. While they were listening to classical music, Driss went to check on Elisa, who had locked herself in her room. Her boyfriend, Bastien, had broken up with her, calling her a slut. She took a bunch of diarrhea pills, thinking they were sleeping pills. Driss brought her back to her senses. Returning to the main hall, Driss started a dance party, making everyone dance to modern music. After the celebration, Philippe showed Driss's painting to Antoine. He said it was the work of a debut artist who would soon be exhibited in London and Berlin. He offered to buy the painting for 11,000 euros. Antoine hesitated at first, but then decided it was a good investment. At the end of the day, Driss gave Philippe his gift, a letter from Eleanor. She had sent her photo and wanted to meet. Philippe was very nervous before the date. He spent a long time choosing an outfit and brought Yvonne with him for support. However, he couldn't handle the pressure and asked to be taken away just before Eleanor arrived. Meanwhile, Driss dealt with Bastien. He met him after school and made it clear that if Bastien didn't apologize to Elisa, he would regret it. In addition to the apology, Bastien had to bring Elisa croissants every morning. Philippe and Driss then went to the mountains for an extreme weekend getaway. Upon their return, Driss was in for a surprise. His younger brother had arrived. He was in trouble and needed Driss's help. Philippe understood that it was time to let Driss go because he couldn't take care of him forever. Driss confided that Adama wasn't actually his brother. Adama's mother was Driss's aunt, but she had always cared for him. Upon learning that Driss was leaving, Magali approached him and introduced him to her partner. Driss said goodbye to Philippe, Yvonne, and the others and went to deal with his brother's problems. As he left the yard, another car was blocking the exit. This time, Driss politely asked the driver to move, and the driver complied. Driss had changed. He had become more attentive and caring. He helped his aunt, whom he considered his mother, find a job and negotiated with the guys exploiting his brother for drug trafficking. Philippe tried to return to his old life, switching from one assistant to another, but none of them measured up to Driss. Philippe grew desperate, letting his beard grow out, and his gaze became dim. One night, he called Driss and asked him to come over. Together, they took the Maserati for another drive through the streets of Paris, and again, the police stopped them, escorting them to the hospital. Afterward, Driss took his friend to the sea. There, he shaved him, cleaned him up, and took him to a small restaurant. However, Driss didn't plan to stay for breakfast. He had arranged a meeting with Eleanor on Philippe's behalf. Before leaving, Driss placed the Faberge egg on the table, the one he never thought he'd find. Philippe eventually married Eleanor. They had children and moved away. Driss started his own business and also started a family. The two remained the best of friends. That's all for today. Subscribe and hit the like button if you want more videos like this.